that stuff bothers me immensely, you know?
Is there like do you go? I know you work at the studio. Do you go to shows to watch bands? Is there some, I don't know, anything that blew your mind? Some good show lately? Or do you hang out at shows, or you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I go to shows in Montreal, like same as I always have, maybe a little less often. Is there anything that blew my mind? Whenever people ask me this question, I always immediately blank out, so I can't think of anything recently. But I'm sure in 15 minutes I'll remember something.
Um, I wanted to ask you if you would say, as I don't know, not Quebec but Montreal is like new mecca for a fresh perspective on a maybe not so fresh musical genres, or because I think so many good music's coming these days from Canada, and um, not I don't know about the mainstream, but I mean from non-mainstream music, it's really like good stuff there. Is there some? Do you have a? I don't know if you agree to me, but do you have any opinion why would it be so?
I mean, there's always been good music coming out of Canada, and there's always been good music coming out of Montreal. There's always been good music coming out of Toronto. There's always been good music coming out of Vancouver, Winnipeg. I mean, the same as in any country. There's good musicians everywhere and good bands everywhere. So I don't see any difference on that level. Things don't seem any better or worse now than they did 15 years ago. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Do you know your I don't know country mates Bell Orchestra?
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Montreal is a small
Yeah.
town, so I know them.
Yeah,
Yes.
they said in they were in an interview here, and they said that they thought that's because world is like paying more attention these days to scene of Canada, maybe because they got fed up of some other music. I don't know. Is there like a lot of artists in Montreal and a lot of musicians?
I mean, same as any other large city, I would say. Although, not so much anymore. But it used to be the type of people who moved to Montreal from other places in Canada were people who were, maybe interested in doing something a little more difficult. It was a hard city to live in on one hand, and it was also an easy city to live in because it was very inexpensive to live there. So that led to a certain type of music scene, but this was many years ago. Now I think there are a lot more people moving there and playing in bands who are moving there because the Arcade Fire are supposed to be from there. So yeah.
And is it no, when recording process for this latest album, you do it all? Do you do it live or you record it separately?
This last record was the first record where we didn't record it all live. So we did like bed tracks that were, it's different song by song, but it was always drums and at least a couple of other instruments. It's the first record we've done like that. And we did that mostly because we'd always had what we thought was a very shitty drum sound. So we knew we wanted the drums to sound enormous on this record. So we did the thing that you do so that the drums sound enormous, which is that you track in smaller pieces with some isolation. Yeah.
And this way, how you record your music, is this also a part of your views on music? I mean, like you don't do any pitch correction or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And how do you see, does those things kill music if you overproduce music in
Absolutely. Well, kill music, I don't know. It kills
perception of music?
well, yeah, it kills an aspect of music that's I think is precious, like, we make records that sound like people playing in a room together. We're not the only band that does that, but again, it's an aspect of music that we love. So I don't know. I can't think other than, obviously like hip hop and electronic music. I can't think of any records that have pitch correction on them that I like, So, but maybe that's just a personal taste thing.
What are your views about downloading music? I mean, is there, I can see there's a good ways that people can get music, and like Metallica, they sued Napster, I think, for distributing music, but that's the way how they got popular. I think in cassettes, I got Metallica record with a cassette that was not. But do you see some bad signs for it, like people downloading on just listening on computer music and?
Yeah, I think it's a complicated issue, but yeah, first of all, I think music that's not attached to an actual physical object, is removed from any context, and it's so then a beautiful thing about records is that it has artwork, and then it has the thing that you play in it as well, and it's a perfect union of mediums, you know what I mean? It's just a lovely thing. Even a CD, is like that. Now when you download things, it's just sort of music that's compressed in a very, MP3s don't sound very good. It's just a different way of listening to music that I think is changing the ways that people understand music. It's becoming more and more abstracted, and more removed from any sort of physical reality. So I think that's a terrible thing, and I also think it's only a temporary state of affairs, for a lot of reasons. But I don't think it's gonna be this way forever. Sooner or later, people need objects. People understand objects, and that's gonna return. Whether the object then becomes just a live performance, I don't know. But the other thing about downloaded music is that, when it's presented, this idea that this is a new digital utopia where anybody could make a record in their bedroom and then have everybody hear them, and the major labels are all going bankrupt, and so the internet is just somehow revolutionary and progressive. All that's happened is that the millions of dollars that the major labels used to collect are now being collected by global telecommunication giants. That's not a romantic. That's not fucking the man. You're just giving your money to. I don't know who the internet provider is in Latvia. But
we have some.
Yeah. No, of course. But I'm saying, so you're giving your money to Deutsche Telekom instead of. Sony Records. How is that? That's not that's not progress. It's just a transfer of wealth from one industry to another, or the iTunes music store and all that. It's like so I get very tired of hearing all the time that this is now, by its very nature somehow progress, and it's not. It's the same as it always was. It's just a little bit different, but the dynamic is the same, but there are no more objects anymore. There's just these sort of crappy sounding MP3s everywhere that make drums sound like this. That's not a terrific state of affairs, Yeah, cassettes were better than MP3s, At least you had to get a pen out and write stuff on the cassette,
So you're a believer of analog technologies, in that case, of music listening and distributing music and...
Well, it still hasn't happened that digital technology has surpassed analog technology for fidelity when it comes to music. That's just a fact. So I believe that, it took a lot of, analog technology sort of for music reached its peak, for recording at least, and playback in the 80s, right? Not for guitars and amplifiers, but actually for tape machines and so it took a long time for analog technology to reach up. It took decades. so digital technology is still young. I believe it'll probably progress to a point where it's as good as analog technology, but it's not even close to that right now. It just sounds bad, you know, like for recording and for playback as well. It doesn't sound as good.
So I think maybe we can wrap up our interview, and it was very nice to speak with you.
It was nice being here.
And I see you tomorrow at the show, perhaps, and best wishes for your tour. And
well, thank you.
Have a good sleep when you can.
I hope so. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Ar to arī mēs klausītāji atvadamies no Efrima, un tad rītā Rīgas mēbelēs notiek Zīsilma un Zēna koncerts. Ienu 8 iesildīs Imants Daksis, un tas, uz šo notikumu tad es domāju ir vērts doties, lai pat ja varbūt jūs neuzrunā mūziku, vienkārši lai piedalītos kādā lielā notikumā Latvijas muzikālajā dzīvē. Labnakt!
Towers had fallen, and the wind called out my grandfather's name. Let's kill first the banker with his professional demeanor. Let's televise and broadcast the raping of kings. Let our crowds be fed on tear gas.